Actual recording is higher quality.
Yes. So we don't need to do a welcome back because that's going to be our intro. So we can just
Jump
dive
right
into our
in.
conversation. Yeah. So, ladies, we have all consumed the Barbie movie. And we want to give a great big Barbie welcome back to Dr. Katie, who is back with us.
Well,
Woohoo!
let's be
She
honest.
wasn't
I
going to
just
miss
straight
this
up
one.
invited myself.
Exactly. I was like, she wasn't going to miss this one.
Not this conversation. We weren't letting her get away with that. Yes, she had to be here. We're so
No
happy.
way.
So this is our first episode back in quite some time, and so I cannot think of a better way for us to come back than with Dr. Katie.
Oh, oh gosh. I thought I'd start crying when we talked about what other stuff, not just. Oh, it feels like such a long time.
It does, because it has been a long
does.
time.
Yeah, it
It
has for
has
all of
been.
us.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how
The
those
busyness.
feelings things work sometimes. They're accurate.
Yes. At times they are. At times they
Yes.
are. So, yeah. So we're here to discuss all things Barbie, and there's so much to unpack. But I will start by saying, pre Lily seeing it, she saw it opening day. I was like so like surprised. Well, first of all, I have been so fucking busy that like I had no idea what it was. I didn't know who had directed it. I didn't know the whole backstory, and so I was like, why the fuck is she going to see Barbie? Like, we all hate
Right.
Barbie. Like, I don't understand this at all. And I didn't say anything because I just was trying to remain neutral. And then she texted me when it was over and was like, Mom, my life has changed. And I was like, what? And so what she had texted me, which I'll share later, was just so profound that I was like, wait a second. And then I went to Google and I was like, what's going on with Barbie? And then I was like, oh, everybody got duped.
Yeah.
All the red states got duped. It was fantastic.
I had no
I gotta
idea
tell
what it was
you,
about.
I didn't know anything. Well, actually, that's a lie. What I knew was there was some scene where Barbie and Ken were in some kind of wild outfit rollerblading because my youngest brother bought his then girlfriend, now fiance, Lululemon bike shorts inspired by a still from the movie for her birthday last July.
Oh my
Whoa.
gosh.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, but like, this doesn't really fit with my brothers. And then he and his now then girlfriend, now fiance, went opening weekend. And I was like, oh, that's nice. He's being a good boyfriend. He texts, and I think he may have thought it was just to my brothers, their significant others, my husband, and my parents, and me. But instead, it went to all of the first cousins on my mom's side, my aunts and my uncles, because they had left a
What?
family reunion to go see the movie opening weekend. And he wrote something like, it was great. I'll see it again. So when a 38-year-old man said this, I was like, maybe I do need to see this Barbie movie.
Yeah.
And then people started talking about it online and then in session. And I literally was like, I need to see it. So I left yoga a couple minutes early, ran home, showered because I could order my ticket, my Diet Coke, and my popcorn all online, have them waiting for me. Ran to the movie theater by my house and saw an 11:10 a.m. showing on Friday.
Oh my gosh.
And then texted you guys from my car after and said, why am I crying and when can we talk about it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I said, first of all, I tried so hard to find a friend to go with. And then I was like, man, I only have a few. This is weird.
Right.
But I'm so like, it's really normally that satisfies me totally. I just wanted somebody to go to the movies
Yeah.
with. Now, mind you, I forgot how much I love going alone. And so right
it's
after.
my favorite way to see a movie.
Absolutely. I forgot how good that independence feels.
Yeah.
And so right after we did Talk Pittsburgh, I was like, I have about 40 minutes to get there and we'll get home, get changed and get there. And it did not disappoint.
No.
Now, I have not talked to Sarah since she saw it. She has not
Mm-mm.
talked to me since I saw it purposefully. So this is like, I've been
Oh, wow. This
trying.
is amazing.
It's been hard. It's been hard to hold it in.
So we talked about our preconceived notions and everything.
Was anyone else, am I alone though?
What?
Like, did anyone else feel that way about this Barbie movie coming out? Like,
Oh, I had no
I
desire to
wasn't-
see it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sarah.
I wasn't real
Okay.
into it.
So we all thought it was just Barbie.
Because we thought it was just Barbie. Yeah, I had no
But
clue
let
what it was
me
about.
throw
And they
out
were so
there also-
secretive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know
Mattel put
anything.
it out, which I thought was like, okay, well, this is just capitalism.
Yeah, right.
Well, and I have to ask too, were you two into Barbies as children?
For like a minute. I had a dream house. I had the 3-story dream house with the elevator that my parents got at like a garage sale. But
Yeah.
they never, I think I had one Barbie and then I had one in the box that was like a fancy schmancy one with like a huge dress. But that was it.
Yeah.
I wasn't really into Barbie that much.
I was not. My sister really, really, really was. And I told this story at our Barbie dinner. I would only play if we could pack a backpack and go on a trip. I never wanted to be in
That's
the house.
hysterical.
Yeah,
See,
I always
and
wanted to
I
go on an
wasn't-
adventure.
I was not a Barbie person at all. According to my mother, when I don't remember how old I was like 7 or 8. And I was like, hey, so we all know I don't like Barbies, but it's embarrassing when I get invited to someone's house and I don't have any to take, or they come over and I don't have any. So I had a few that I can still picture it. It was like a hard carrying case. They lived in it in my closet, did not look at them unless someone had come over to play, or
You were
I
like
took them to someone
evolved
else's house.
enough to know like you wanted Barbies so you could like fit in and make sure that you had like
That
the
was
right
the
toys
only
for
reason.
play dates.
I
crazy.
legit had no interest. I was way more interested in going to the library to get books to label my rocks,
Yeah.
or when it was baby dolls, like Baby Talk, ones that you fed, took care of, much like the beginning of the movie.
Right.
That kind of
Before
stuff.
they
It was
bash
not
their
my
heads in.
thing.
Wow.
Yeah, and it wasn't mine wasn't like it's not like I was in a place of feminism when I was like 8 or 9 that I was
Right.
like, I'm not playing with this doll. I just wasn't
No.
really into it. That's all.
Exactly.
I just
Wasn't
want to
my
make
thing.
that clear so everybody's not like, okay, sure, you were so evolved as a child,
No.
Sarah.
It just wasn't
No,
my thing.
same.
No.
I was
Yeah.
a nerd. It just wasn't like that. I didn't connect to Barbie at all. I didn't hate Barbie. I'm not someone who was like, oh my God, I didn't, I knew I couldn't measure up to Barbie standards. I didn't consider that. I just didn't want them.
Right.
They're boring.
Exactly. Yeah. I was doing I was creating musicals for my stuffed animals.
Absolutely.
I was putting on shows.
Yes, exactly.
And selling
Yeah.
tickets.
Yeah.
And reading
I sold
the
tickets to my
lyrics from
shows.
the. Did you? I read the
Me too.
lyrics from the tape cassette thing, and then I sold tickets. And if my parents had people over for dinner, I would perform.
Well, I
It was
sold
lip singing.
tickets.
Don't worry, I didn't scare them.
Yeah, I sold tickets to my piano recitals, but sometimes I really wanted to play, but was still shy. So everyone would have to buy their tickets and then sit on the screened-in porch, which was next to the living room where I would play. So they could listen, but they weren't watching me.
Oh
That's
my gosh, that's
fantastic.
funny.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that
Okay,
we were all
so
performers.
none of us were Barbie girls.
shocker. Shocker.
Yeah,
We
right?
all love the
Everyone's like,
stage.
okay, fast forward to the part where there's something new, girls.
Okay. So we all weren't sure what we were walking into. Well, we knew there was something up. So
Yeah.
we just
Yes.
didn't know exactly. And Lily was very careful not to spoil it for me. She's like, there's one part where I cried because it made me think of you. I'm not telling you about it now. And then she said, there's another part that's going to rock your world. And that's all I knew. And that was it.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I went in blind.
Yeah. So do we want to talk, not a spoiler alert, but if you haven't seen it and don't plan on seeing it, it is a very feminist driven movie. And there's a lot of feedback from the
Male
far
counterparts.
right that are, yelling that it's a man hating movement, and that, I'll read some of the reviews in a little bit, but I thought that would be funny. Some of the
Absolutely.
ones that
Oh,
are reviews that were
absolutely.
Absolutely. I guess that what I want to say is that none of us are man haters at all.
No.
And I also want to bring to light that this is Feminism Light 101. It is not anything that the three of us and most of our listeners have not known, heard.
Right.
It surely felt good to see it on the big screen, but you're not going to learn anything. But this is so good because it's so mainstream that at least everybody's getting a little taste.
Right.
And you just hit the nail on the head. I also told my mom, who hasn't seen it, that I was crying. I was sitting in my car crying, texting you guys and listening to Billie Eilish. And I saw my mom a few days later, and she said, "Why were you crying?" And I said, "Well, I think I want you to see it, so I'm not going to tell you much. But I think, and let's be honest, I cried a few times. But I think one of the biggest parts of the tears for me is it's the first time I saw even feminism light in that way, knowing that it had already brought in almost $1 billion that everybody was talking about. And these are things that, for the most part, I had only seen in textbooks or in situations like this. To see teenage girls. I saw a teenage girl with her father in the movie theater at 11 a.m. on a Friday.
I love that.
Watching this. And I just thought, this feels pivotal. Perhaps we cannot continue to ignore or just live with this anymore if it's getting this much attention.
Absolutely. I saw somewhere that they of course they brought Taylor Swift into it, talking about how between her and this Barbie movie, how pop culture has officially like changed the world for women this summer, especially young women. And I felt very similarly when I saw fathers taking their daughters to see Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
There's just the similarities of her feminism and the way that she speaks of the patriarchy. It's so they just crisscross every which way.
Right.
And that is the thing, right?
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just it's not man hating. It's patriarchy hating. These are different things.
1,000%. I cannot agree with you more. That is the best way to put it. And I think that's the best argument to make, is that it is hating the patriarchy. It is not hating men. I love men. I love my husband.
It is hating a system that also oppresses men and restricts men in a lot of ways.
And puts men in a category and a box and makes them feel like they have to live up to some sort of stereotypical ideation of them. And it's ridiculous that people would think that hating the patriarchy is hating men.
Right.
But here we are. I think that's also a lack of understanding, or just like a lack of knowledge, like just not really knowing the difference, I suppose.
Oh, absolutely. It falls into the same category as, well, I'm not a feminist, but coming out of a woman's mouth, and really anybody's, when I always say, well, perhaps you don't really understand what feminism is about. It's actually about equality for everybody, in its simplest form. But I think there's just so much misunderstanding, and people hear a word like patriarchy and think, oh, man bad.
No, but to take for equality to happen, we have to take the men down a notch or 2 or 10. And it's not necessarily we, it's just that society, to make it even, it's so far from even. And I think that this movie showed me things I've forgotten, because you have to forget some of them to survive.
Yes.
I cannot live in a place where I see it all the time.
Right.
It's exhausting already just doing what I do, let alone seeing the inequality that I live in.
Absolutely.
You saying that really sparks a moment in the movie for me when Ken comes to, was it Studio City, I think? When Ken comes to Studio City for the first time and he sees this male-dominated place, and he's watching the interactions with men, and he's seeing them in the gym, and he's, seeing them fist bump, and seeing the boardrooms full of people, boardrooms full of men. And it kind of hit me in that moment. I was like, man, have I made myself blind to that? Like, I've put my blinders on to try to ignore or dull it, or not really notice how bad it is.
It's so true.
So when I was looking through his eyes, I was like, holy shit. Yeah. It's.
Yeah.
That's not exaggerating.
No.
That is how it is. And if you happen to be a woman in one of those positions, you're just labeled differently as, a bitch or overbearing or all of those things. I will start with something light
Okay.
that hit me right from the start. And now, because I'm a nerd and I'm like, we're definitely talking about this, I have my damn notes out. So that's
I
who I
love it.
am at the movies. So these quotes these probably are not verbatim because I was quickly doing it, but where she says, and she says it so low that you can barely hear it. She says, "Oh, I'd never wear heels if my feet were shaped this way."
Yep.
And I was like, "Bitch, yes."
Mhm.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And, so for those, well, no, I mean, I don't know if there's people listening who haven't seen it. The problem is her feet go flat. I don't know if you've ever seen Barbie, but her feet are always on her tippy toes. And so their feet go flat normal like us. And she puts on the heels and she's like, ow.
Yeah, that was a great line. I was like, yes,
Yep.
I agree with
Little
you.
things like that. I just love throughout.
This is why I feel like I have to see it 5 more times. Because my guess is I missed so much just because I was like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. This is great.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I should go into the one that I feel like is the one that shocked me the most, and the one that I cannot stop thinking about.
Maybe does anybody else have any other like light
Funny,
ones?
yeah, light ones.
So I do, and it's funny, but also I don't know. I think it was very striking. My 22-year-old niece and I were texting about it. She had already seen it, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to go see it." And she tells me that one of her favorite parts was one of my favorite parts, which was later when she sees the construction site and says, "Oh, construction site! There have to be women there."
Yeah.
Because it's funny on so many levels, right? Because she's thinking like, "Oh, well, the women do everything," and I was texting my niece. I go into my crazy. I'm like, "Well, of course, anybody would assume construction is about creation, and women are the creators." And
Yeah.
and like I feel like there were probably things like that throughout the movie that, whether intended or
Yes.
not, had multiple layers to them.
Right.
Also,
Right.
but it was just hysterical. And then then the interactions with the construction workers after that, and when they both were just like, well, we don't have genitals. Like,
Yeah.
That was so
where's
funny
this even
because
going?
it was so out of place. I was like, all right. She's like, I do not have.
So my favorite character was Weird Barbie.
Of
Oh,
course.
she
was fantastic.
First of all, I did not know that Kate McKinnon was in the movie.
I didn't
And
either.
so when she came down in her split, I was like, oh, I was like, yes, I love her so much. But I just thought, and I won't get too deep on this one now, because I laughed so hard at first, and it wasn't until after the movie that I thought about it, when she's like, I look like this. This is what you look like when you get played with too hard. And, the little girl's like, I had one of those, weird Barbies too. And America Ferrera says the same thing. But I was thinking about it after the fact, and I was like, yeah, when we get played with too hard, we're outcasts.
Wow.
Like how many layers did they put into all of these different jokes and, different characters? It was just wild to me to think about. I was like, because Weird Barbie is outcast to the outer skirts of Barbie land.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all like, is it bad that we call you weird to your face and behind your back?
They kept saying that, and I was like, that is so funny. That is a funny line. No matter how many times you say it.
Yep.
So she says, I don't know if it's in that same scene, but this was in my notes. She said, either you're brainwashed or you're weird and ugly. There's no in between.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, she's right. I used to be brainwashed. Now I'm just weird. Like, that's so true, though, if you think about it, especially like, we could go so deep. I mean, if you're going to buy in to all the ways that you can make yourself continually look the way that you're supposed to look, then you're brainwashed, or the world's just going to think you're weird and ugly.
Well, right. I mean, even thinking about our reaction to whether or not we had Barbies as kids. I mean, the first thing we said was, or at least for me, was basically that it was weird that I didn't, right? So, okay, I wasn't brainwashed, but it's so weird that I wanted to play with rocks instead. It's like, why? Why is it just because there was one, stereotypical toy?
Mm-hmm.
But like you pointed out, I somehow knew I needed
Yeah.
to go fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew that they lived in my closet, and only came out when other girls were around.
You're like, and this is where I keep my Barbies at all times, right here on my bed.
But Barbie really thought she was changing the world.
Yes.
And that was, to me, I was like, I'm so sorry I hated you all these years. I truly felt that towards this
this
doll
character, right?
and this character.
Right.
I was like, wow, you really did think like you were making a difference.
Well, I believe that was the initial intention.
Yes.
From the creator.
Right.
Ruth was her name?
Yeah.
Yes.
Her intention was to take children away from being groomed as parents, you know, like I hate that word groomed now. It's like I can't stand hearing it.
Makes me feel,
but it's the only thing I can think of right now to describe that. But when, you know, this is what you play with. You play house, you play mommy, because this is how this is what you need to grow up to be and to do. And so she was trying to show, well, Barbie can be anything. You can be anything.
Right.
And now I do feel bad, like for being an adult growing up and being like,
well,
there was
a
point in time where there was a lot of Barbie backlash.
Yes. And it was mainly about how Barbie looked, which I think we can all agree it's problematic.
Yes.
But did it necessarily, you know, we can't take how Barbie looked in a vacuum.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even though it was like Dr. Barbie, it was still Doctor with like a tiniest waist ever.
12-inch waist.
Yes. Right. Like,
yeah,
right. Isn't it like, I remember reading, that like Barbie wouldn't even be able to stand up, like based on her proportions or something. She'd be so top heavy and blah, 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 which, whatever. But there was always the focus, at least, and how I saw it, on how Barbie looked, not what she supposedly did.
Right. And I think, you know, they show that in the movie too, like that Barbie felt that way, stereotypical Barbie, I guess we should say, because there's so many Barbies in the movie. And I loved that at the point where she starts to become human and she's crying and she says, I'm not beautiful anymore. And they say, you are so beautiful. And she's like, but I'm not stereotypical Barbie beautiful anymore. And I also loved that they paused.
Yes. This was so good. This was so good.
And had the narrator come on and say, note to the producers, choosing Margot Robbie as your Barbie is probably not the best indication of someone who's not stereotypical Barbie.
You probably did not make your points.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the fact that Barbie even felt the pressure to still be beautiful, even through her emotions, was like a very good message that they put out there.
Watching her come into emotions was beautiful.
Yeah.
And let's just say, I think Margot Robbie was fantastic.
Oh,
like, she is gorgeous. She does look like stereotypical Barbie, but I think she really embodied the character so well and showed growth throughout the movie.
Yeah, definitely.
I really am going to be honest, I cannot wait to hear the reviews. We'll wait till the end, but I cannot wait to hear the reviews you found.
The 1-star reviews?
Yes.
They're great.
They're really good.
Yeah.
So this is the thing that has been on my mind the most since seeing the movie. Well, obviously the one that I cried my eyes out for. But this one, I don't want anyone, especially my partner who I'm sure is listening, to take this the wrong way. But this is something I have felt my whole life. Whole life. And it's when they're in the car and she just goes, oh, you're just gonna slow me down. And I was like, oh my God, I have felt that everywhere. Every single time I'm in a group with a guy at school, anytime I like have to be partners with someone, anytime they're my cut that out. I was going to say boss, but perhaps if you're working with someone, or, you know, and it's not all, I can never say all, but there is just, I always feel like I'm 10 steps ahead without really even like trying, if that makes sense. And it's because we're on this high, like we're just we're taught to go full speed all the damn time. And I'm always
Mhm.
like looking and thinking and 10 steps and okay, what if this happens? And I always have a plan for 4 different things that could happen. And just all of these things. And he was just like, and I was like, he is going to slow you down. And like, I just felt that. And she felt bad about it. And then I felt that. And then he was like, I brought the rollerblades. And then I was like, of course you did. So I know that could cancel me, and make people upset, but I felt seen in that particular line in a way that I
Yeah.
didn't even know I needed to feel seen.
Well, it's because we have to be 10 steps ahead. If we're
Mhm.
going to be treated as equal, we have to be 52 steps ahead.
That's right.
Yep.
If we want to make the same pay, we have to work 14 times harder.
Right.
That's
Yep.
just the reality of things. And so that's like, I'm sure what she was feeling like, well, fuck.
Yeah. Like now, but I think that what she was saying, now I have to worry about you.
Right.
Like,
Right.
God, like, this is
Exactly.
just added
That's
to the list.
exactly it.
Yes.
And that
Like,
goes back to the very
okay.
beginning, right? Of being taught that our job as women is nurturers, to take care of the baby dolls that get
Yes.
smashed in the first scene. Or then that just extends to everybody else who comes into our lives. And I will say that it's interesting that how we take care of each other as other women, we're still taking care of each other, is different, I think,
Yep.
than how we take care of men. And I think we saw that in the Barbies in Barbie
Yeah.
Land too. How they interacted with each other when there weren't men around, slowing them down or just requiring attention was different.
Requiring attention.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the whole point because, you know, I was telling Sarah that now Lily and I look at each other and we're like, oh, why is he such a Ken? If we see somebody on TV doing something or somebody in the street, we're like, you know, it's just glaring now. It's one of those things you can't unsee.
Right.
I
Mhm.
see it and now I can't unsee it. And so
Mhm.
here we are. And I wish, and I wonder if that's why I'm so tired. And I wonder if that's why I don't have any words and my words are gone now. And feels like I have dementia and like all of these things. Is it because I just have too much happening up there and I always have?
Would now be a good time to read America Ferrera's monologue?
Oh,
Sure.
Since we're talking about that, because that's kind of goes
Yeah.
right into what she's talking about. How was that moment for you guys? Because for me, I cried.
well, so I had already read it. I had read the monologue. I had seen it posted. That said, I don't think it really took away from it. I certainly felt seen, validated, and I think too, this might be a great time to point out that it was so interesting to me that, Barbie thought she was going to the real world to find the little girl,
Right.
and it was the mom who needed her and who she was connected to and was having these thoughts. And so that was interesting. And then it was the mom slash all women, but still was, I really felt what she said, not just as a woman, but as a woman who is a mother. And maybe it was because her character was a mother. And I think all women can relate to it, but that really hit me.
Yeah, I would agree. There's been TikToks recently though that have come up with other people's monologues over the years.
Ooh, I just got chills.
And that it's been said many, many times in many
Hmm.
different movies, and how women have just been feeling this for so long.
Mhm.
So yes, it moved me. Unfortunately, I knew it was coming.
I didn't.
And I didn't tell you.
I know.
I knew it was coming, and so it affected me for sure. But it was also, I felt like this is not really for me, or for you, or for you. I felt like this is for the other people who don't understand,
Who never heard it
and
before.
I really
Yeah.
like, we live this, right? So I lived everything she said. You've lived everything she said. And so it was still incredibly powerful. Obviously, it was the most quotable movie of the entire
Most quotable moment.
Thank you. Now she has to go edit. It was or not.
No.
It was the most quotable moment of the entire movie. And so, yeah, it was super powerful. Before you do that, I just want to say one other thing she said, because it did affect me most as a mother, this whole thing. And this is the one that I cried because I knew that I'll probably cry reading it. I knew that Lily was thinking about me, and this is how I feel. This is how I definitely feel raising her. And it says, "We mothers stand still so that our daughters can look back and see how far they've come."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yep.
Well, and I know I'm taking us even further away from that, but I kept thinking, oh my God, I can't talk about, you know, no, but like our mothers, and that they did not see these things like we did, but still found ways to empower us. And, you know, obviously for me, not with Barbie, although she did give me them so that I didn't feel like a total weirdo. You know,
Right.
but
She was like,
she did the right thing. And that, you know, that's why this is so important is we got here with mothers who, you know, maybe, I mean, you know, my mom was at Pitt in the 60s and early 70s, so she did see things happen and stuff. But then, you know, to your point, Amy, about things just slowing us down, from the time she got married at 25 to adopting 4 kids to having 3 of her own, did not have time to slow down and even process any of that, let alone think about how the patriarchy was holding
right.
her
Yeah.
down.
Or
Right.
Yet
to
they,
ever reflect or have self-care or
Yeah.
anything
right,
that, you know,
right.
that we can do now. Uh, absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
I think too, even though they worked through that in some way, we also got implicit and explicit messages from our mothers because of them being so much more entrenched in the patriarchy.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
then to think about it being said this way is just, I think, beautiful.
I feel like raising Lily there's not been a part of me that's had to stop because I feel like I'm still full throttle ahead here, but there is a part of me that's like, I know that I'm going to step aside and just and let her go and do the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
a weird feeling, I will tell you, because I felt like, you know, it would always be me. Like, I don't know. I just
Mm-hmm.
always saw myself as the change maker, as the one who made all the differences and everything. And so to give her the power and to give her the example and to show her the way and then to watch her and listen to her say things that are even beyond me, I'm like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, there she is. Off she
Right.
goes.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just that is where the stand still thing got me. And she was like, I'm just so appreciative of when you do that.
Wow.
I love that. And I think that it's really cool to hear you guys speak about your, you know, like experiences, you as a mother and you with your mother. And I think that it's kind of taken these little tiny baby steps with each generation,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
because my mom always was like, you can be anything, you can do anything.
Yep.
But then she also had, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, she also had very different views of what a woman needed to do. So that was like hard for me to know because I was raised very, very religiously and like the way that the Bible is written with how women need to
Mm-hmm.
serve and all of that stuff. I was taught that and, you know, really ingrained with that. But she also really kind of allowed me to have my own wings and go be what I wanted to be and try a million different things to find what I loved. And what I think is really cool about this movie is that this summer, with this, between this and Taylor, I think that this generation's getting a shove. Like,
Yeah.
instead of these
Yeah.
little baby steps, like we're getting a
Yeah.
nice big old shove forward. Like,
Yes.
no, like, yes, we're gonna keep moving,
pushing.
keep pushing, exactly. Keep moving forward in that direction and just trying to just be better than the last.
I mean, especially
Yep.
at a time where we've talked about it on here before, legally, we are 20 steps back.
Mm-hmm,
Yep.
mm-hmm.
So at a time when that's happening, but we still push back
Yeah.
in media and in music and with these people, you know, people being so brave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
You ready?
Yeah.
Are you going to do the
absolutely.
radio voice for us?
Probably.
I knew it.
Inadvertently. I don't know. I won't try to.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You got a good voiceover.
I do want to say like one thing though. So like this part of the movie made me feel a lot of things. Like I felt sad because I was like, oh, that is really sad that this is how it is. But I mean, as you said, Amy, like we know these things. Like I knew this, but I felt very empowered hearing them coming from America Ferrera. And so it was like, oh, yes. So I felt really great in that moment of the movie. But I have to tell you, and this is like embarrassing for me to say, there were a lot of the parts of the movie that I felt super uncomfortable with the way they were treating men, because like all of this rooted shit that I need to, and I had to keep telling myself, like, let that go. Like that's not.
Was it when she was dismissive of him?
Yeah, like when she called,
I felt that way too, and I was like, "Oh, you better pay attention."
Yes, exactly.
Like, please pay attention to him. He's gonna get really mad. He's gonna get mad. Just pay attention.
When she said,
I'm laughing
when they
because
were talking,
I was just like, cool.
Yes,
ignore the fuck out of him.
I love that. That makes me so happy, Katie. Yeah, but it was like when she said, when they were talking to each other, and they're like, "It's just Ken." And they kept saying, "It's just Ken." Like that was a recurring thing throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Every time they said it, I was like, ugh. But I don't know if that's that's me just wanting everybody to not be just so-and-so.
Sure.
Right.
But there's also that thing that I don't know. Was I taught this in the church? Probably. That where they say that you are, what is that thing called? Where you do something to a man and you make him like, you guys, it's not like
Instigating?
It's not infantiling him, but it's like when you take away his manhood. What is that called?
Emasculating.
Emasculating.
Yeah.
That was a church thing. And so I was like, oh, she's really emasculating him. Mm-hmm. She's taking away his manhood. That sounds so ridiculous. I have to laugh.
Okay, well, I have to go back to a funny part now that you said that. And one of my favorite lines was Weird Barbie. Of course, when she's like, "Oh, look at him! I'd like to see what kind of smooth bump he's packing over there."
Yes, that was great.
I was like, "Yes,
oh my god,
love you." All right, so I'm gonna read this monologue here. I might not read the whole thing because it is pretty long, but here we go.
I can take the second paragraph.
Okay.
Because it's so good.
I have it like this, so I don't know where to stop. This is where
complaining is my
complaining
last word. Is your last word?
Is my last word. Okay. All right. Got it. Sorry. It is literally impossible to be a woman. You are so beautiful and so smart, and it kills me that you don't think you're good enough. Like, we always have to be extraordinary, but somehow we're always doing it wrong. You have to be thin, but not too thin. And you can never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy, but you also have to be thin. You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass. You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your damn kids all the time. You have to be a career woman, but also always be looking out for other people. You have to answer for man's bad behavior, which is insane, but if you point that out, you're accused of complaining.
You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much or that you threaten other women, because you're supposed to be part of a sisterhood. But always stand out and always be grateful. But never forget that the system is rigged. So find a way to acknowledge that, but also always be grateful. I had to laugh there. You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, never get out of line. It's too hard. It's too contradictory, and nobody gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out, in fact, that you are not only there. Sorry.
That's okay.
And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but it's also everything is your fault. I'm just so tired of watching myself and every single other woman. Lost my shit here. Hold on. Tie herself into knots so that other people will like us. And if all that is true, if all that is also true for a doll just representing women, then I don't even know. Let me do that line again. Okay. And if all that is also true for a doll just representing women, then I don't even know.
I have chills again.
I love that part where you're doing everything wrong and it's also all your fault.
Also your fault. Yes.
Oh, have we all felt like that? Because I sure have.
Yes. Regularly, daily, multiple times a day.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because I do feel like, let's just say that there's a household where there is both parents. I still think it's the mom that when they're mad, they're telling her that you ruined their life.
Mm-hmm.
You're the worst. You've ruined my life. I don't
hate
even like
you,
you anymore.
yeah.
I hate
Mm-hmm,
you.
mm-hmm.
It doesn't really often. I'm sure it does sometimes, but man,
Yeah.
I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Everything is your fault.
Of course.
Oh,
Whew. Yeah, a lot of that hit me hard. I was like, I know all of these things, but damn.
The part about being thin but not too thin, but
Yes.
then also being
right.
healthy.
But you have to be thin.
Right. That
But you
you
also have to
can't,
be
right.
thin,
That
but
you're
don't
not
ever
supposed to
talk about
want
being
to be
thin.
thin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
You have to pretend that you are healthy but secretly trying to be thin.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The never sentence too. Never get old, never be rude, never be selfish,
Mhm.
never, ugh.
And always be grateful, Sarah.
Yes, always be grateful.
Guys, gratitude, okay?
Oh God.
Okay, we do like
We do
to
preach
be
the gratitude. We wanna be
We do
gratitude.
want to be grateful here. I just got to put that in there.
Yeah.
It
We
helps.
do,
I will
but
say
we
it
also
helps.
know what
But don't
she
let anybody
means.
make you.
Yeah, we know what is meant in this context of this monologue.
Because
is that
yeah, because what people would
and
say if
I
you're
also
complaining about your kids.
that
Oh,
one
sorry.
kind of struck me as we're always just we're just so lucky, right? That these things just happen for us. Like I didn't work my ass off in school and go do these things. It's just because otherwise, then we're actually like being proud of ourselves, maybe, or confident. Those things that we're not supposed to be
Yeah, right.
as
Like
women.
yeah. Right.
Wait, that just
That's
reminded
just
me of something.
Go ahead.
When the Barbies were like, "Of course I am."
Yes. Yes.
I forgot that part.
I forgot about that part
Mhm.
too.
Until they got brainwashed and then they
Mhm.
said,
Mhm.
"Oh no, not really, not
Yeah.
really."
Yes.
So what I'm saying is that somebody would say, I really don't know the example, but like, gosh, you're so smart. And they're like, I know, I really am.
Gosh,
Yeah.
you're right.
Right.
Like,
And then when they
imagine
had to
if we said
convince-
that.
Yeah.
Imagine
People
if we
would-
actually owned the things that we're good at or proud of.
Yeah. Right.
The best I
We
can
would be
do.
cocky bitches.
But the best, I can't say that. I can't say what they're saying. The best I do is thank you.
Yes, exactly.
Same. And then swallow the rest.
And then just like back away quietly.
Yep. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep. No more self-loathing. So I just think it's hilarious, though, that people are coming at this movie so hard. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with Ben Shapiro. He's a conservative yes, talk show host. He has a podcast that you shouldn't check out.
No, no, do not check him out. I thought maybe he was something interesting way back when podcast started because he was like number 3.
Right.
It was the worst decision of my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he is quoted as saying, all you need to know about the Barbie movie is that it unironically uses the word patriarchy more than 10 times.
Oh, he counted.
And then he set a bunch of Barbies on fire.
What?
Yes.
That's aggressive.
Yeah. He shared a video of
Wow.
himself on social media setting Barbie dolls on fire by throwing them on a grill.
Do you think maybe he also poured Bud Light on
He
them?
probably did.
100%. But isn't that hysterical? Like, oh my God, this is so bad. But let me burn some dolls over it.
Exactly. I'm going to burn some dolls. My favorite thing that's going around on Instagram is that women are taking the 1-star reviews of Barbie and making them into Barbie movie posters.
Mhm.
So they're
I
taking
saw-
the reviews and putting them on the poster. So these ones they're my favorite. The feminist agenda will kill us all.
Death by feminism.
By feminism.
I'm gonna make that
That's
commercial.
amazing. I'll take it.
Yes. An alienating, dangerous, and perverse film.
Perverse. Damn.
This one is by far my absolute fucking favorite. They won't be happy until we are all gay.
Which
I
that
mean,
is
it would
the
be so
one
much
too.
better.
Like I don't even understand how anybody, and my guess is actually a lot of these people haven't seen the movie, but like,
Probably not.
what in the world? Gay? Like, that wasn't, like, sexuality
Maybe Alan?
really, I guess, like, I don't understand what,
I also
how,
think emasculation turns people gay according to certain
I
people.
According to
guess.
certain people, yes, exactly.
Okay.
There's no, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
There's no being a man, being a straight man, and being emasculated or
I
being
guess I just haven't thought enough about being
overpowered.
turned gay.
Right? I can't. With these people thinking that movies and dolls create
Mm-hmm.
a person's
And
sexuality
books.
and books, yeah,
We'll just
whatever.
throw those
Get
in
the
there.
fuck out of here. The last one I have is a pink acid trip that feels like being slapped by lots of confusingly attractive people.
As if that's bad.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's been
I want
wild.
more. I want more.
I know. I'll try to find more in
Maybe
the
on
meantime.
Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know. Somebody must have published an article with all of them. I know they did. They did
Oh,
somewhere.
sure.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
So another moment that I had in the movie, and you guys are probably going to think I'm absolutely ridiculous and like, what kind of teenage girl was I? But I loved the Indigo Girls. Like I used to love the Indigo
I was
Girls.
hoping this is where you were
Everybody.
going.
Hold
on
on.
This call.
No, I know. Hold on. Pause. I used to sing Closer to Fine in my like acoustic duet back in the day, like in the early 2000s. I haven't heard that song in forever. Okay, so it starts playing in the car when she's leaving Barbie Land, and it all of the sudden hit me like a brick wall, and I started crying with the lyrics. I just never felt the lyrics that way until sitting in that movie, and then I was like, oh my God.
So I actually tried to get video, but I was like, I couldn't. I don't know why. To send to Jamie, my best friend since kindergarten, who Amy knows,
Yeah.
because I was like, I can't believe this is happening, and I knew Jamie had seen it, and actually was one of the few people, actually the only person I know who's seen it who didn't love it. But I was like, but Jamie, we would literally drive around Greensburg, Pennsylvania, almost 30 years ago. Closer to Fine on repeat, screaming it, and like you'd be like, okay, who's taking harmony this time? Like that song. But that is when I was like, oh, I am actually who this movie was made for.
Yes.
You know, like obviously not just for me, but that song was such. I feel like we can't use the word era anymore, but such an era of growth and connection and figuring out who we were, and then seeing Barbie going to figure out who she was in the real world, and then when it comes back later with America Ferrera singing it too, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I think that song has a lot of power now it sounds like all of us, because for me, I didn't get woken up until college, and college just really opened my eyes. I ended up taking one women's lit class and then got a women's minor. Like I was so enthralled in this. I also had my first, gay friends, and I also figured out who the Indigo Girls were and Ani DeFranco, and it was just that was the whole era, those two specifically, of this just, oh my gosh, like I am different as a woman, and this is a whole thing, and understood it. And for me, they represent that like awakening of this. I felt like I was asleep and I didn't understand, and I just kind of accepted whatever was. And so that was just such a cool song. I will say, fucking love Matchbox 20, so I don't know how I feel about the other thing.
That was amazing.
Well, but I
never thought of this song that way. I never thought of it. And I was like, damn it.
Yes, song ruined.
Completely
ruined. Push. If you haven't seen it yet, the guys sing for hours.
When they're all doing it on the beach, I was like,
and he was like,
God.
And I will look into your eyes, gazing you, like you, I don't know, singing to you boringly or whatever he said. It was
like, I'm now going to sing it at you for the next 4 hours.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes. I'm going to sing it at you.
And tell
Guys,
me though
listen.
that
I
you
know.
didn't, like, this was happening, and I immediately flashed to, I could picture probably 10 guys from high school to college, like, pulling out their guitar. Like, I was going to be
Yep.
And
so
singing
impressed.
at you.
At you. Yeah.
Was
And
there anything
actually,
more perfect?
No.
I
but
mean,
you know
not
what?
doing that. Don't do that.
No.
The wording. The wording.
Yes.
Right. You know what's funny is I just remembered total patriarchy moment in high school. I mean, we know I was a music major in college. I was a voice major, whatever. I played piano, I played guitar. And I remember a dude pulling out his guitar, singing at me. And there were a bunch of people there, I think like 10th, 11th grade. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, could I see your guitar? And I play and sing. And I was way better because I just was. And I remember one of the guys looking at me and going, he has more talent in his pinky finger than you do. Yes. And at that time, I didn't realize what that was about. It was like, I remember just
Yeah.
looking at like a couple friends there, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I will never show you up ever again.
Exactly. That taught you that right there.
Yep.
In that moment, you learned.
Mm-hmm.
I had
Okay,
that
so
happen
another
many
moment
times.
in the movie removed from that, when they're like, bring out the box. And Barbie in the
box.
boardroom.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
Barbie
yeah.
starts to she gets
Yeah.
into the box.
Yeah.
I mean, meanwhile, like, could we be any
More on the nose.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Get
So,
in the
and then it
box.
starts to come out,
Okay.
and then she realizes and she walks out. And I did not tell my mom about this part yet because I'm hoping she'll see it. But whatever, she still talks about and did just recently. There was a moment, I believe I was 25 because it's part of my monologue in it. We were at a Penn State tailgate and I was being too loud, too big, whatever. And she said something to me about my behavior. And I think I'd probably also had a few beers, but I would have said it without it. And I looked at her and I said, it's taken me 25 years to get out of the box you put me in, and I am not going back. And she
Oh,
still
dang.
tells that story. And I think Barbie had that moment. She was like,
Mm-hmm.
because there's part of it that feels right? That feels, it's so familiar to be in the box, to act in these prescribed, restricted ways.
It's safe.
But also when you feel it's very safe, when you feel what it's like to be out of the box, that freedom is amazing. It's dangerous though, too, right? I had a patient bring up in session last week the saying, and she actually encouraged me to see the movie too. The saying that men are afraid women will laugh at them, women are afraid men will kill them.
Yeah.
What did I say? I said, don't emasculate him. He's going to get mad. He's going to yell.
Exactly.
He's going to get really mad at you. Like, don't make them mad.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to say about the box, when she right before she jumped out, it's when she felt them tighten around her wrist.
Yep.
I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not going back there.
No.
So, I thought another funny thing that's kind of come out of this movie that people have been talking about controversial Barbies over the years. So I don't know if either of you have seen any people pulling out these old Barbies and explaining where they came from and what they're. Okay, so they're pretty great. So going back to the 60s, there's controversial and then there's discontinued, but going back to the 60s and he was in the movie was Alan. And Alan was only around for a few years, but his literal name was Alan TM, and then it had Ken's buddy TM. So it wasn't like Ken's buddy, like Ken's buddy was trademarked. Like that was yeah. So it was hilarious. There was, somebody from the LGBTQ community talking about this, and he was, I'm going to have to post it and share it on our Instagram. So go check it out. He does a reel of rating them. And so when he's talking about Alan and how controversial he was and how he got canceled basically in the 60s was because, and they're like, well, where did Alan go? And he's like, I don't know, go check the gay bar. Like it was just, them discussing like how it was perceived.
I loved in
Oh,
that because you sent
wow.
that TikTok to me or reel. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what it was, but he's like, and it is funny that Ken is over his shoulder, like
Looking very
Mhm.
heterosexual question mark. But yeah, it was so that one was a good one. So yeah, Alan's Ken's buddy. That one cracked me up. Okay. I think it was the 90s. So the 90s brought us Earring Magic Ken. Earring Magic Ken had a purple mesh shirt, a navy leather vest, and jeans, and then he had what looks like a cock ring around his neck. It's like a big circle,
What?
thing.
Oh
And
my
we'll post pictures
God.
to on your Instagram, so our Instagram, so go check it out. And then he had one earring because they were trying to rebrand Ken as cool, because nobody thought Ken was cool. It turns out he was canceled after like 6 months. Like they took it. There was some big article written by some guy named Dan Savage, and it was like a huge outrage. He's the top selling Ken of all the Kens.
No way.
Yes.
Speaking of, do you remember that time of life where it was called, like, they would say left is right, right is wrong?
Yes, I do.
It was probably the same time.
I'm
Which is
interested to
so fucking
see.
shitty. Like,
So
why
shitty.
why did
Mhm.
people, I mean, we all said it. We were like, oh, left is right, right is wrong, if we saw a guy get like
An
a
ear
ear
pierce.
piercing. What
Yep.
a dumb thing.
So
It's so stupid.
So stupid. What's wrong about it, you know? Grr.
So Scott just pierced both ears.
There you go. That's the way to do it anyways. There was actually legit a sugar daddy Ken.
That one was so good. That was in the show. That was in the movie.
Yeah.
He had made an appearance at the end of the movie. He had a little dog.
Oh my god, that was so good. And that was Sugar.
Sugar. The
that
dog's
was
name was
Sugar's
Sugar,
daddy.
and
Yeah,
he
it was
was
so
Sugar's
good.
daddy.
Oh
Yes.
my God.
So yes, loving
I didn't
that.
realize that was a real one. That I thought it was just
That's a
thrown
real.
in
It's a
for.
real.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
And he was around the same time, I believe, as Video Girl Barbie.
That one was
Was
great.
also in the movie. She made a quick
Mhm.
appearance.
Did you stay for the end to see?
I did.
Okay, yeah.
What I think is really weird about that is giving children the ability to record up to 30 minutes. Like it's just a little putting dolls and video cameras together. Probably not.
Bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except now they can do it on their iPads.
This is very true. But it's a doll. I don't know. It's like hidden. It's a hidden camera.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I
Mm.
don't know.
Just weirds me out.
I think that I liked the most about that was the way that she was pissed off about it.
Yeah.
She's
That
like,
part-
it's in my back.
She's like, do you realize how weird this is?
Okay. What was the other one? Sorry. I'm trying to read my handwriting. Oh. So we all saw in the movie Pregnant Midge.
Yes.
Also controversial. And believe it or not, that was in the 90s, I believe.
Yeah,
Early
I was
2000s
kind
that
of like,
that
how
came
did
out.
I miss this?
Yeah. I don't remember.
Alan is apparently the dad.
Yes. Alan is Midge's baby daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Midge's belly comes off and the baby's in there.
Yep.
I mean, that is
Yeah,
just
weird.
what they do.
Yeah, exactly. Just pop off.
I had a
and, you know.
C-section. They were like, pull them out.
And then another great 90s moment for Barbie was Teen Talk Barbie. And it was pretty terrible in its original form because she said things like, let's get our makeup on and go to the mall. Or I'm a pretty girl and things like that.
Yes, not harmful at all.
No. So there was
Oh
a
my
big
God.
movement where people were breaking them apart and then breaking apart G.I. Joe, who also had a voice box that had sayings, and swapping them, putting back in the boxes and returning them to the stores to be
That's
sold.
great.
So people were getting G.I. Joe dolls that had the like, I'm a pretty girl, and
That's
Barbie dolls
fantastic.
that were like, I'm gonna go and fight with my guns, and like and people were up in arms about it because,
course
you
they
know,
were.
how dare we ruin their gender stereotypes.
Oh my God.
So those are the controversial Barbies that I'm aware of, at least.
Wow.
So controversial.
So controversial.
I couldn't help myself. I had to go find more rants.
Oh, let's hear 'em.
Reviews.
Oh,
So many of them were yeah, I just want to know more about what people are saying that hate it, because I think these are so entertaining. For the first 30 minutes or so, Barbie is a fun, featherweight satire. Then the stuff about the patriarchy kicks in, and the film turns into a thinly disguised Me Too rant. Go fuck yourself is what I want to say to you. His name is, if anyone else wants to get him, Jim Shembry. Anyways,
Okay,
and then
first of all,
trading.
nothing was disguised at all. But it wasn't
No,
a
it wasn't a
rant.
thinly veiled Me Too movement.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact
And
he
it
would
wasn't
use,
about Me Too.
yeah,
No.
he's clearly confused on his,
He thinks Me Too is something else.
or he thinks it's
Yeah.
all the same.
Yes, exactly.
Which is worse-ish.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My
Trading
guess is all the
comedy,
same.
Yeah.
all the same, right? So he
Mhm.
finishes by saying trading comedy for man bashing and a lot of confused point scoring about sexism. Huh? All right, whatever. Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, they can't save a story captured by a man-hating agenda.
Oy vey.
Okay, how about, let's see. No, that's your, those were so fun. They're in every article that
they're
are
going to be
about
in every
this.
article. Yeah.
I don't know this word, honestly. NHSIPOSM. Nipis. Anyways, an account somewhere denounced the film's radical views and called it extended radical feminist, distributed and packaged within the guise of a fun summer blockbuster. Okay. Meanwhile, Pat394, the same guy that like probably said that we should go work out instead of getting different clothes, that probably the same guy on Facebook, said it was a shameful piece of cinema unless you're of a certain ideological bent, in which case you'll love it. But for everyone else, avoid it like the plague.
Barf.
Yeah. Yeah, those are fun guys.
So I
Barbage.
gotta say, my mom was like, okay, I haven't seen it. You saw it. You're reasonable. Like, kind of. What are they so up in arms about? Like, is there anything? I said, Mom, first of all, if we think about conservative in terms of like how we used to say conservative, like we don't want to see sex and this kind of stuff, they should love it because there is no swearing, there's no sex, there's no nudity. This film is above board. The only way you think there's something wrong with it is if you love patriarchy. That's the only, I mean, truly, like, that's the only thing I can see. And this is a problem. I'm cool to offend people who love patriarchy.
Right.
And I've been thinking too, I think Greta Gerwig was so brave to do this. And I know it sounds crazy to say that somebody was brave when they are literally making a gajillion dollars off of it. But to come right out and say it, like we said, in not a thinly veiled way, to just put it all out there, not knowing what's going to happen. There were no guarantees that this was going to hit the way it did. And to just really bring to light, like I said before, all of these things that we've known about, that we've talked about in academia, in certain circles and certain substacks for years, but to just throw it out there to the mainstream and say, okay, let's see what happens. That was a pretty big leap of faith.
Yeah. It really was. I think it's been the most in your face, flat out, no thinly veiled anything. But I think there are multiple layers, like we were talking about at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I love that it's just very obvious, and that anyone who watches it can, if they choose to, receive it, receive that in a way that's meant to empower us as women.
Right. Exactly.
Absolutely. There was a scene that she fought so hard to keep in. Did you guys hear about this?
No.
Like, they wanted her to take it out, and she just said, no, I refuse. It's really important. And I did know about that going in, and I was really like, oh, that makes sense now. It's where she's sitting on the bus bench and the elderly woman
oh,
and her
yes.
talking. and she says, "You're really beautiful." And the woman says, "I know." And I just thought, wow.
Yeah.
And that was after Barbie had seen all these awful things.
Yeah.
And she just was shattered. Her heart hurt so bad that she hadn't changed the world. And then that was her encounter with this woman.
Oh, I love that. I got chills and teary-eyed.
I
Just
know.
remembering
I
it. Yeah.
know.
I'm so glad they didn't take that out. Why
I
would
know.
you take that
Because
out?
it really didn't move the plot. If you want to talk about it that way, I do
guess.
think it was poignant, though. I think it was really like super, super important.
I actually loved it. Yeah.
One more thing. I hear your baby, though. I know you need to go, probably.
No, don't be sorry about that. We feel bad keeping you. Oh.
Is he saying mommy?
That cry.
Is he saying your name?
Not yet.
That breaks my heart.
Okay. I might have to go.
Okay. Well, you give us your last thoughts.
My last thoughts are everybody go. Let's all go again. But truly,
Yeah,
I
right,
really mean that.
please. I
think I do need to see it again because I'm really curious to see what I missed. I'm grateful. No, but I'm amazed that this happened in this way. That there was a blockbuster movie about the patriarchy. And I will say too, I think that something that I noticed or thought about was, everybody's thinking like, oh, the Kens kind of represent women, right? That it's all flipped, etc.
Right.
And, they don't realize what's happening. I think the biggest issue is actually the Barbies not realizing how special it was that they had this power. Like they just took that all for granted. And there's a parallel in women who don't realize, right, that they're taking for granted how they live in the patriarchy. Barbie needed to wake up and we need to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
It's really the Kens just were there as the counterpoint.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent way to say like, hey, men, if you're so pissed about this movie, watch it and see how the way you feel when you see how the way that Kens are getting treated, that is how women feel.
That's every day.
All the time. That is our reality. That is our life. So if you're so pissed off about this, good. You should be.
Because it's for one time you can stand in our shoes and see
it.
I really, really liked at the end, though, what Barbie said to Ken. And I felt like that was something for all of us, right? So you're not beach Ken, or you're not just my...
I'm sorry, but those when he's like, my job is beach.
I'm going to go beach now. No, I cannot save you. No, I cannot surf.
Are you a lifeguard? No, my job is beach.
And you are not your partner. You are not your friends. You are not your job. Who are you? And that was what Barbie said to him at the end. Like, she did comfort him and she did take care of him and she loved him in the best way possible by not saying, okay, yeah, I love you too. Let's be together.
Right.
She said, no, go find yourself. And then in my heart, I'm like, because I'm a hopeless romantic, I'm like, and then they'll get back together after they both find themselves. Right? Because I'm like, maybe they will find themselves. And so, that's what she's saying to him. She's really in the most loving way saying, go figure out who you are.
Which is, again, why this was not a man-hating movie. This was a patriarchy movie. Barbie in her final act with Ken still took care of him.
Exactly.
And not in a bad way. Not in a way that we'd be like, girl, stop doing that. It was
right.
For both
exactly. Because the easiest road would have been like, okay, move back in. I love you too. Let's be together.
Do you have a minute for like one more question? Okay. So before we let Dr. Katie go to her little baby, who's very sad in the background, if you could have heard
my humongous toddler baby. But anyway.
Yes, he's so cute. I have to get everybody's thoughts on the last line of the movie. The very last line. Yes, when she says it's like this whole build up. She's walking into this building. She's dressed, and they're like, "Good luck, you've got this." And she walks up.
Interview or something.
Yes, you think it's a job interview, whatever. And she's like, I'm here to see my gynecologist.
You want our reactions?
Yes.
So my reaction was, this is my true reaction. It was, fuck.
Yeah.
There's even more that we deal with.
Yeah.
And that's how I thought. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, I didn't, I don't know. Like, I didn't leave on a high note. I left on a like, oh, that's another fucking thing that we deal with that men don't. And just the millions of things that happen at a gynecologist's office and to our bodies and all of that.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was important though, because it's not something that like, you know, we talked about throughout the other part of the movie because they didn't have the parts.
Right.
So,
Right.
and it's something that we don't talk about as a society either. And that adds a whole nother level to our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
actually
mine was
loved
fuck.
it. And I kind of took it as, okay, ladies, we're all empowered. Don't forget, you need to go to the gynecologist. It sucks, but like, down with the patriarchy, but don't forget about down there too. Like, go to your
I love it.
appointment.
I love that these
And
are
to me,
different. Okay.
it was actually her really becoming human because, as Amy said,
Yes.
she said, I don't have genitals. And if she's going to the gynecologist, she's a human. She's chosen to feel.
Yeah.
She's chosen her flat feet, her cellulite, her tears, her
Yes.
her thoughts of death. And she knew what the other side was. And she still chose to be like us while looking like Margot Robbie.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
No, I was
Yeah, that I was like,
oh.
holy shit. Through all that pain and all that shitty stuff and the fact that you have to go to the goddamn gynecologist.
On
and
top
like,
of it.
On top of all that, I was like, she's still choosing to be a woman. And I think it made me think, all right, I need to, here we go. I'm going to go back to what we were just making fun of at the beginning. But I need to think about it and be more grateful, I guess, you know, for being a woman. As hard as it is, I am grateful that I am a woman. I would much rather
I don't
would
want to be a
take
man.
this and all of it. No, I have no
Oh,
desire.
fuck no.
I would take this and all of it that goes along with it to stay to, you know, I don't know. I feel a power that comes along with it. I talked about this with my therapist a lot, that the most powerful I've ever felt in my life was when I was giving birth to my kids. Like, I think just having a uterus and having the power and being like a goddess, I feel that. And I feel powerful as a woman, even though there are a lot of times that I feel my power being ripped away or trying to be ripped away.
Yeah.
I feel a very innate urge to fight that and to fight hard.
Yeah.
And I always have. I've been very feisty and spicy, and it drove my mom insane, and it probably drives my husband crazy, but I am very much like the fighter for that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why when she said that, I was like, that fucking sucks, but I get it. I would choose it too.
Oh yeah, over and over again.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think for me, I would say maybe there's another place that's not gratitude. Maybe we don't have to go there. Maybe it can be this acceptance or this neutrality that I think that men carry.
Yeah.
That, you know, not everything has to have that emotion attached to it. Like, I'm just a fucking woman and I'm powerful.
I'm just Ken.
I'm just fucking Amy. No, I just don't think it has to have, what I've been taught is that it has to have an emotion like that attached to it, and to not be, you know, taking things for granted and all of these things. But maybe I am. Maybe it just is like, and to me, in my perspective from the movie and from what I see in the world, that's just how men see things. It just is.
Yeah. And that would be nice.
Wouldn't it just be nice to just be?
It would be really nice. I don't know that I ever have.
Exactly. And in perfect, as if we asked him, Katie's child is calling for her.
Yes.
So, wow. That was, thank you. Thank you
so much, Dr. Katie, for coming on with us and talking Barbie.
We
love you.
We love you so much. Thank you.
Love you the most. Mwah.
Mwah.
Mwah. But don't go away for real.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me stop.
I know.
She knows the drill.
She knows.